So I'm really happy to be welcoming Proof of Vibes, Ant Marshall, and Russ Ballard to talk about how in real life events can really help scale the ecosystem.
What's going
Yes,
on,
they got.
everyone? Check, check. One,
Let's
two,
go.
one,
They
two, one,
got
two.
chairs. I was really planning to get on my Steve Ballmer real quick, just
I'm
walk
definitely.
around here, get sweaty, but this is amazing.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Good
My name
evening.
is Ant Marshall. Is it good evening?
I don't know. It's good evening,
It's good
somebody,
evening
somewhere.
somewhere. All right,
So yeah,
nice.
let's jump
Let's
into
jump
it.
into it.
I'm Russ, co-founder and chief vibe officer over at Proof of Vibes. Super excited just to be talking with you guys here today and walking through the vibes and what that actually means on chain.
What does it mean? I feel like I
Man.
need to interview you the way we're sitting. So, Russ Ballard, what does it mean? What do vibes mean on chain?
Man, I really think we just take a step backwards and figure out how we came to this point, right? What happened? How did we get to even bring in vibes on chain and the importance and what that looks like? Like ultimately starting off, I grew up in Philadelphia, ended up moving to Austin, Texas, which created this paradigm for me and just shifted the way I think. And so South by Southwest 2021, me and Ant are going out and about, moving and grooving, and ultimately realize like, all right, there's so many different events. There's so much going on. How do we know what's going on before we get there, right? Like, what does that actually look like? And how pivotal, because I'm a person who goes to a lot of different conferences, always doing the little circuit, and like there's so many different side events. How do I know which one I should go to before I get there, right? So the idea, proof of vibes spawned. Being able to understand and have quality verification about an event before you get there, let alone understanding the vibes aspect of it and how it translates to in-person events in regards to your identity.
That part. And I mean, just to add on there, a lot of us, we talk about vibes, when you go to an event, a friend of yours may say, well, what's the vibe there, right? You'll get that text because a lot of us are dealing with FOMO, right? You're sitting in bed. I literally was doing this. It was like opening night party. I'm in bed. I'm like, I should go. Send me a photo. Send me a video. And so it was literally that simple. But the truth is, in Web3, like, there's so many rabbit holes that you have to go down to really understand this thing. Some of you that are developers and coders, this is like secondhand information for you. But as we talk about really scaling what this is to the rest of the world, we really need like simple onboarding approaches. And that's really where this came in. It was like, we were honored by what POAP did in the early days, which was really simple to QR code yourself into Web3. But then it really kind of just dropped you off, right? You got this NFT in your wallet, didn't know what it did. And we were like, well, what if we took that to the next level? What if when you get to that event and you QR code in to this world, you're able to rate the vibe? How do we quantify what a vibration is? So maybe we
Precisely.
could get into a little of that.
So you ask yourself, what is Proof of Vibes?
Right.
Proof of Vibes is a vibe-to-earn protocol incentivizing tastemakers to get paid for curating good vibes. And we can hit the next slide. Do we have a little clicker? Or?
And I feel like I need to stand up.
Sensational.
Yeah.
Let's get it. All right. So a couple of things we want to talk through today. Identity through IRL events. What is a DID? VCs, verifiable credential, strategic partnerships, quality verification, and revenue models.
What does all that mean? So part of the problem we're looking at, right? Again, we're talking about scale. For me, a little bit about my background. Started a company in 1991, almost 33 years ago, called Lyricist Lounge. We were an open mic, a showcase venue, turned tour, turned albums with Raucous Records, turned MTV show. It was all about bringing the underground of hip hop, the underground hip hop culture to the mainstream. From there, I kind of moved on to doing other things, launched a company with Al Gore called Current TV. This is back in 2005, where user-generated content was a new thing. Now we call it social media. But having gone through that whole journey, where we are now is social media has really taken hold of all the creatives, right? They've gamified it in a way where every day you feel like you have to upload to keep up, to get followers. We all know the deal. But now the artists have caught up to that. Like, I'm not doing that shit anymore, right? And they've heard about Web3. They want to come into it, but they need a simple approach to doing that. So we've identified that a lot of them are not making money now, and so how do we create a way for them to make money through this process?
Exactly. And then how do we plan to solve this? SSID, that is such a complex and overwhelming, it's overly convoluted.
Scaring the wolves.
It's scaring the wolves, you know? So at the end of the day, we have to break it down in an easily digestible way, right? And then through IRO activations, not to mention quality verification, vibe checks. This is so essential to the ecosystem. We're not doing enough vibe checks. Community consensus. This is the ultimate mechanism that we need to be using to be able to qualify what is and what is not vibey. And so ultimately, that's our playbook. Community consensus in through tastemakers. And this is vital to understand. You ask yourself, okay, what's a tastemaker? A tastemaker is a person who decides what's going to be cool before it's cool, right? And this is very subjective, what is cool. But ultimately, when we talk about what is we're trying to do in the near ecosystem and reach 1 billion users, we need those who are going to help onboard the masses and have influence over the masses. And these are tastemakers, a very underrated and I think underrepresented collective and niche.
Yep. And just to give out some examples of what that would look like, right? Because we could talk words all day. It's a simple app. You QR code once you get to the event. You're able to take a photo with your friend and then rate the vibes of people, places, and things. So the place, if it's an event, density. How many people were there? It's okay. Even this place right here. Why don't we do one too? Even this place right here, right? How friendly was the vibe, right? This young woman is smiling. I'm feeling good vibrations from him. This guy looks a little mean, like he wants to beat me up. I'm only kidding. Now I got him to smile, so the vibe is back up. But these are things that I could rate, right? When I mint this photo, it then is a transaction and shows up on Boss, right? So we're creating real-time ways to show transactions very quickly. I don't care what idea you're talking about. If that shit is not translating into transactions, what the fuck are you talking about?
So we're literally, let me retake this real quick. We're going to put vibes on chain, IRL, in person, get in here, Ant. And this is how we quantify vibes. So you're at the spot, like Ant was saying, you rate this event. And you guys probably can't see it on my phone, but nonetheless, we rate events on 4 things: energy, density, friendliness, and diversity. And this is a scale of 1 to 10. And this is what quantifies a vibe in our eyes. Again, energy, density, friendliness, and diversity. And we can go to the next slide. So you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. And I think it's pretty friendly in here. Energy is a little low. I think we're getting to the end of the conference, so it's pretty chill. We're all ready to go home and close out. Density, not that packed nonetheless. I think it's pretty diverse in here. It's a wide range of people. And so again, vibe check, and you can mint that on chain, and now it'll show up on Boss in the feed.
Exactly.
So first collector to put vibes on chain. You
know? Now as simple as that is, right? Ultimately, that's his opinion of what the vibe is. What happens when we all do it, right? That's where we get quality verification of this event, or quality verification of an NFT so people are not getting rugged, or quality verification of a person, right? Because a lot of us, when we meet someone, they give us the representative, like, oh yeah, hey, if you got money, they're like, oh yes, everything's, right? But I don't really know you. So what if I had a consensus of who you are, right? That would help. And it may keep you a little more on point as a person, right? As we create a community consensus of who we are and what we're doing.
Precisely. And then the self-sovereign identity aspect.
Deep in the rabbit hole.
Deep in the rabbit hole. It's a lot to digest. I think it's 3 major ideas. You got self-sovereign identity, you having ownership of your identity. This is such a foreign concept to us when we use Facebook, X. I was about to say Twitter, but it's X now. Instagram. We don't actually, believe it or not, we don't actually own those photos that we put out.
Right.
So this is a very interesting use case for blockchain, to be able to have full ownership over whatever content you put out. Then we have decentralized identity. This is an open standard-based identity framework from digital identifiers and verifiable credentials, which then leads me into, okay, what are verifiable credentials? These are basically, it represents physical credentials such as passports or licenses. So this is all digital, and I think that these are like the 3 pillars of what self-sovereign identity is, and just decentralized identity on chain as a whole. So.
And this is like the nerdy explanation, right? In general, what we're doing is building a brand, right? We're figuring out the business model. The general business model is loyalty rewards for events, period, right? You want the elevator pitch? Loyalty rewards for events. But as you go down the rabbit hole, we're solving for a lot more. And now we're thinking about real world assets, et cetera. What if we had localized venues around the world and could fractionalize ownership for the ownership of that, right? And so there's a lot of things there that we're also looking at. But on a high level, we just want to do cool events. We just want to onboard people in a simple way, not over nerdify what the thing is, right? And then slowly start to bring them into the fold and scale this thing out.
Exactly.
How do we do it?
So, tastemaker down approach. And these tastemakers are so vital to the ecosystem. I hate to say it and break the bad news to you, but it's a bunch of nerds in this ecosystem right now. And I'm a nerd as well. And so I say that very in a very
In a
positive
loving
way. But I think at the end of the day, when we are just ones and zeros, we lose the human approach, and it doesn't really feel welcoming. When I first joined blockchain, it wasn't the most welcoming space. It wasn't the most inviting. It was a little overwhelming. If I wasn't the person I am and able to make friends and communicate and do what I do, then I probably would have left a long time ago. And I say that to say there are tastemakers out there who have a large influence over crowds that you might not never know. And so being able to have a system, or basically being able to digest this information to them in an easy, conceptualized way so that they can share it to their audiences is vital. And this is what we want to focus on. And I think a perfect example of how tastemaker approaches are actually transferable in real-world examples are Spotify playlists. As you can see, Rap Caviar has over 14 million followers and 7 billion streams. People curate these playlists, put this music together, and some of these songs you might not never heard before, and they end up blowing up and popping, right? These are tastemakers. Tastemakers are ones who curate these experiences, who curate vibes, who curate different things for people.
Absolutely. So this was early on in some of what we were thinking about. The app works in very simple ways. We've all heard of Web 1, 2, and 3. We've created kind of these buckets in a sense. You join the app, anyone can get in, anyone can see what's going on. You can create your own profile. For you to go a little deeper and kind of get Web 2 access and connect with your favorite tastemakers and get a little deeper down, there's a level there. And then there's an additional level where you're actually one of the tastemakers who is a part of our DAO, able to have our token, and then able to work with your localized community to push that out.
Exactly. Earn vibe from reviewing events and become a vibe validator.
Let's talk about that redeem section too, vibe points and redeeming.
It's essential. I think that ultimately rewarding people for going out makes a lot of sense. People are already going to events, and in a lot of the early days, we wanted to be a Web3 Yelp of sorts. So you're able to go to an event, leave a review, and then be rewarded for that, which then creates this circular economy of, okay, imagine a world in which I went to this event, but now because I'm part of this network, because of this community, now I can go to this shop or go to this pop-up and redeem these for cool merch, cool experiences. Loyalty rewards and Web3 is nothing new. I think it's the ultimate value exchange in the chain, right? This is our take on how to do that in a more cultural, curated experience in a way.
Exactly.
Adding our own little bit of flavor.
Yep. Because at the end of the day, I think we're trying to force people to use Web3. Like there are a lot of like high brain reasons why we should use Web3 because we need to blah 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 and take over the system. But in the larger capacity, they're like, okay, show me how I can use it today, right? And as soon as you pull your shit out, most of our things, most of our toys don't work, right? You're like, yeah, all you got to do is and they're like, So now you've lost them, right? You've lost them. And so in order for us to really scale this thing, we got to create things that work. They need to be simple. And then we need to give them space to kind of go deeper down the rabbit hole. And so the redeem section has been that for us. We want to create incredible clothing capsules with incredible designers. We want to show it and promote it as much as possible. And when the world is ready to get it, they can't pay for it.
Exactly.
Right? So they're texting that tastemaker or whoever, that influencer, hey, how do I get that Proof of Vibes Nike capsule you guys drop? Oh, you got to join the community, right? That's where the engagement happens. So if they can't buy it, they have to use the thing. Now we have transactions. Now we have some things going on, and that's part of our circle.
Precisely. And again, experiences, this is so vital. I seen a tweet not too long ago. It said Web3 currently in this market is an events company. And I couldn't agree more, right? In this bear market, as we're all down bad, I think events are what keep us together. There's a circuit, and it's a beautiful thing being able to meet someone at ETHCC and then see them at Dev Connect, or meet
Yeah.
someone at NEARCON this year or last year, and now a year later, and you reconnect with them, and it's all good. It's all
I mean,
friendships.
Russ, that's how we met.
That's how we met 2 years ago at a NFT NYC, and was able to come together. And now we've built a company and thrown events all over the world and had amazing experiences. And I think these are what really translate. And ultimately, as we're in this build season, we must continue to uphold and maintain. So experiences is how we plan to create revenue and create a sustainable and continuous in community, right?
Absolutely.
Private mixers, retreats, game nights, boat parties, cookouts. So these are things we've already done thus far, which have proven successful, and things that we want to scale up globally, right?
We'd also be wrong not to highlight that there are black and brown people on screen,
Believe it.
right? We need diversity. And it's not just, oh, we need more black people in here. We need diverse thinkers. It's not all about the zeros and ones. I'm a big culture person, and I've said this on repeat. Culture is code. I don't know how to code, but I definitely know how to curate this room. And everyone that would be in this room, from all the people I've ever met, like the coding that's going to come from that, the information that comes from that. So we can create all the zeros and ones we want, but if we don't connect with culture, we don't connect with the people. And if we don't connect with the people, then we won't scale. Then we won't be here next year, right? These rooms are getting smaller. So we're trying to keep this thing going and make sure that it can grow. But we've also recognized that what started as for us about the creatives, we realized that we didn't want to alienate anybody, because we're talking to folks who are all zeros and ones. So we went back to the lab and we're like, the truth is, it's really a toggle, right? You want to know where the vibes are for the creatives? Toggle down to the creatives. But you want to know where the vibes are with the coders and the developers? Then toggle down to that, because that may be a smaller vibe, a space that doesn't have a lot of loud music. It may be more of a hacker house. And the way you see that is on our app through the map, right? So you toggle down to the developers, and then you see all of the little blips that are coming up on our map, and it's like, oh, something's happening around here. And maybe the spot that you were going to go, there's like 3 people there, so you're like, definitely not going to that
Not a vibe.
VIP situation,
Yeah.
right?
I would
I'm
add
going
in
where
there,
the people are.
just like Ant said, vibes are very subjective, and
They're
understanding
relative.
that toggle. And there's developers, there's artists, fashionistas, spiritual people,
regions,
regions, whatever the case might be. So ultimately, how do we curate experiences for them, and how do we still create an inviting space for them? Because this is what we need in Web3. It just can't be purely developers, right? That doesn't really work too well. We need people from all different diverse
to
backgrounds,
build this thing.
all over. And so if we really want to continuously grow, continuously move forward, this is our goal, and this is what our mission is, to be able to create inviting spaces for all to enjoy, and then be able how that translate on chain.
Yeah, and
right?
build it with you, right? So any of you that are working on companies, if you have ideas that you want to help, you need help scaling this thing, getting in touch with the right folks who can help your specific idea get to a specific group, let us know.
Exactly.
We got about 1 minute and change. If there are any questions, we can totally talk a little more. My friend in the back.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
Shout out to the sponsors.
shout
man.
out to
They've
the
been holding
sponsors.
us down.
Well,
Yeah.
they helped to get the event going for sure, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great question. I think in the redeem section, right, as we partner with brands, let's say they have a new product that they want to put out, and there's a marketing budget they have for that. They could allocate that to us. We could create the experience that people can redeem in the redeem section. So now you're getting a hyper-focused community that is engaged in Web3, so you know what kind of type of thinkers they are. And now they are using their vibe check points to redeem it for that product or experience or et cetera. So that's one way. But then the obvious Web 2, Web none ways of them putting up banners and et cetera, and being seen as supporting something real.
Yeah, sponsors are definitely the ones that help us curate experiences, and that foundational layer to make it happen. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times these events can cost a lot of money, and if you don't got a rich uncle or come from a rich family, then funding it yourself is a little hard. So
Exactly.
these founders help us launch these events, and then in exchange for that, we offer like different assets like banners and different placement, and it helps build their brand as well. So I think that it leads to a good point too. How can we become sustainable outside of sponsorships
Exactly.
for events? This is a very vital and very important, question to ask. So, but yeah, that's our time. Appreciate y'all.
Also want to
Definitely
give a
check
big
us out.
shout out to NDC. If you don't know about the Near Digital Collective, my guy was the community engagement / events DAO, everything. I was marketing lead for some time. Definitely join the community if you can.
Yep,
Thank
and
you.
Creatives DAO and all of those who are vibey in the ecosystem.
All the vibey individuals, shouts to you.
Peace.
Peace.